Onestead.
My body, my choice. My body, my choice.
Protesters took to the streets across the country and at the nation's capital after Politico published a leaked draft Supreme Court opinion overturning the landmark abortion rights ruling Roe v. Wade late yesterday. Standing outside the Supreme Court, abortion rights activists chanted "No back alleys in the night for safe abortions. We will fight."
No back alleys in the night for safe abortions. We will fight.
The draft opinion, signed by conservative Justice Samuel Alito, states Roe was egregiously wrong from the start. It's in response to a case challenging Mississippi's ban on abortion after 15 weeks, Dobbs v. Jackson's Women's Health Organization. The draft opinion, in effect, states there's no constitutional right to abortion services and would allow individual states to more heavily regulate or outright ban the procedure. The 6-3 conservative majority court is expected to rule on the case before its term ends in late June or early July. A Supreme Court spokesperson said the court had no comment. The leaked ruling also inspired pro-life activists to flock to the Supreme Court. One online video shows a scuffle between the two, but it was largely peaceful. Arkansas Republican Tom Cotton hailed the draft decision and called for an investigation into the leak. House Speaker Democrat Nancy Pelosi said in a statement, "The Supreme Court is poised to inflict the greatest restriction of rights in the past 50 years. California Democrat Representative Ro Khanna said in a statement Congress must act immediately to codify Roe v. Wade and stand up for gender equality. A bill pending in the Senate would do that. The Women's Health Protection Act passed the Democratic-controlled House last year, but it's been stalled in the Senate, where it apparently lacks the 60 votes needed to override a filibuster. Representative Khanna called for an end to the filibuster to pass the legislation. Ukrainian defenders of a steel plant in Mariupol say Russian forces have started to storm the last pocket of resistance there. Deputy Prime Minister of Ukraine, Irina Vereshchuk, told reporters today a few hundred civilians remain at the plant and is urging more time to continue evacuations. The United Nations and Red Cross successfully led evacuations Monday. Some 150 people were able to flee. Forces at the plant say hundreds more remain trapped under rubble. Russia's latest attack on the plant comes almost 2 weeks after Russia's President Vladimir Putin ordered his military not to storm it, but rather to block the Azovstal steel plant off. Meanwhile, the U.S. says Russia's ramping up its attempts to take the eastern Donbass with fake referendums in the Donetsk and Luhansk. Here's U.S. Ambassador to the OSCE, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, Michael Carpenter.
Russia has plans to engineer referenda on joining Russia sometime in mid-May, and that Moscow is considering a similar plan for Kherson. Now, the international community, including the OSCE, where I work as ambassador, has been very clear that such referenda, such sham referenda, fabricated votes, will not be considered legitimate, nor will any attempts to annex additional Ukrainian territory.
At the capital, Kiev, U.S. officials gathered Monday to state they would be reopening the U.S. embassy there in the coming weeks. And House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced a $33 million funding bill to Ukraine Monday, a day after meeting the Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. She was the highest-ranking U.S. official to visit the country, second to the presidency. UK's Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced a $375 million military aid package to Ukraine and said Kiev will prevail. Pope Francis has told an Italian newspaper he offered to travel to Moscow to meet with Russia's President Putin to try to end its war in Ukraine and suggested the invasion might have been provoked by NATO's eastward expansion. Amazon workers at a warehouse on New York City's Staten Island overwhelmingly rejected a union bid Monday in a blow to organizers who last month pulled off the first successful organizing effort in the tech giant's history. This time around, warehouse workers cast 618 votes, 62% of them against the union. Here's an organizer.
Now it's just up to us to, what do we do when we lose? You know, we wipe our shoulders off when we get back up, and that's what we're going to do.
A union attorney says the group may file objections to the election. Democratic lawmakers in 18 states are seeking to offer legal refuge to displaced transgender youth and their families. The coordinated effort announced today by the LGBTQ Victory Institute comes in response to conservative states like Texas, where agencies have been told to consider placing transgender children in foster care. Lawmakers in both Minnesota and New York recently filed refuge state legislation modeled after a California bill. Lawmakers in 16 other states plan to do the same. They say they want to be proactive and show transgender children someone is standing up for them. I'm Christina Onnested, reporting for Pacifica Radio.